It's so important to look after yourself, your being, your well-being. Because if you imagine yourself as a ecosystem, part of something greater, then it makes so much more sense that it's important that you're looking after that ecosystem as a whole, and that at the center of that is your well-being. The thoughts we have stem from our state of mind, our own being. That's impacted by our environment. The environment we create, how we interact, all of these things are ecosystems. And like it or not, we are going to influence them with how we feel. How we feel is going to be stem from our experiences, our history, how we see the world. So all these things, they're not something we can control. I think we're often missold the idea that we need to be in control of our thoughts to be able to separate them from who we are, our environments, and think logically is a term that's often used. And in Western science, logical means to extract from an environment, to isolate the process so that it can be understood independently. That's really not a logical way to process ourselves and understand our lives, because they are by their very nature integral. So I think it's actually the most reasonable and clearest way to see yourself as the most important thing to look after, to be of the clearer view that in order to effectively function, to be the best version of yourself, to be the most productive, most contributing, most healthy, you need to consider all these factors, and at the core of it is yourself. So doesn't it make really better sense to take time out to stop focusing too much on your own productivity and trying to measure your personal value, wealth, success, and just allow your inner being, your inner child, to communicate to you better and explain to you what you really need. And that may be to step back from something, to see it more clearly. I see that myself in my life, but very much in a business situation as well. If you become too focused on outcome, you can become quite defensive in your position, and that can kill all expansive and creative thought processes. So you've heard the saying that sometimes the answer's right under your nose, and you're not going to see it unless you're able to really relax about the outcome, allow context to be what it is rather than trying to understand or define it in some way. So I guess I'm saying just chill out about the whole thing, whatever it is you're battling with or trying to understand or fix. and live well. I think we often are conditional in our thinking that we don't get the prize, the reward, until we've done the right thing, as it were, till we've resolved the situation. And we create that very focused type of thinking. I recently was in meditation, seeing the mind's eye, my own mind's eye, focused on a situation. And to me, I didn't see focusing on that situation as particularly intense or preclusive to other things. I was just thinking quite focused. And what I actually saw was a very, literally a kind of reptilian inner eye, focused, very, very focused on a specific outcome. And at first my reaction to that was, it was almost an evil type of eye, you know, like that, literally of a reptilian type of snake sort of type of eye. And that imagery for me seems so strong and shocking. And I thought, what is that part of me? What aspect is that? That's not the person who thinks about problems. That's a cold-blooded type of being. But then I came to understand, as I explored it more and allowed myself to see it, and I think the art with meditation is to not control the process as such. I don't know if you've ever had experiences of dreaming of flying. When you are dreaming of flying in the astral, the art to flying is to simply not try as such. It's to relax. And as you relax, the process seems to be more controlled or more directed, guided. As you panic, so it seems to go completely wrong. So during this meditation, I was just observing, trying to observe as much as I could of this reptilian eye, this snake eye, to understand what was behind it, what's the mind behind it. And as I got closer, I saw that it was actually just an inner aspect of myself, a way that I'm learned to focus and think on a focused situation. And I started to even see like scales dropping away, and I started to understand it was my mind trying to explain to me that when I'm focused on an idea, it's a very intense type of thinking process, much more intense than I realise. Perhaps that's so many years of academic training that's taught me to block out other things to focus on trying to define something. But it appeared quite alarming, and I could see how it could be very detrimental, if not in the process of understanding, at least from a well-being and human perspective, of blocking out other things, who I was, my human needs, etc. And very isolating. I guess that's the result of years of research on a subject that no one else really understands or perhaps cares about. So I think that for me was a great awakening to the true nature of thought, the power of thought, how we identify ourselves. And I wanted to share that so that it's excuse me now, I'm going to open the gate, this is loud and squealy. I wanted to share that as a part of sharing my own learning because I found it quite shocking, really, that my mind can be so focused and so engaged without me even realising, and so I just want to share that for other people to experience, to try to hear their inner self, maybe not see it always as a distraction. How many times have you seen something and thought, oh God, that's just driving me mad, and it's actually the answer you want? You think, just leave me alone, but it's actually what you want. So I'm going to leave it there because I'm entering into a place now where it's windy and the sound will be poor. But I hope from my heart to yours that this is something that resonates with you a bit, helps you to understand, open up, and perhaps let go of the outcomes and fears to allow in what you really want, the answers you're really seeking. Okay, thank you.